If you've got a job that you're aiming for and you're nervous about a job interview, this is the video for you. This is your ultimate job interview guide. I'm going to teach you all style tips for your job interview, but very importantly, I'm also going to talk about the kind of mentality and body language that you need to carry into that dreaded interview. Rule number one, don't be afraid of it. It's just like any other life skill. It boils down to a few points and your bade bhaiya got you covered. So if it is a job interview at a normal everyday company, you've got to dress formal. I'm sure you know that. Let's go over some formal dressing rules. Always match the color of your belt to the color of your shoes. If you're wearing a light brown belt and dark brown shoes, that's still okay. If you're wearing a black belt, match it with black shoes. That's rule number one. Rule number two, when we're speaking about formal dressing, shirts especially, there's only three colors that are really allowed. White, pink like this, and light blue. But if you're interviewing for a slightly more chilled, slightly younger company, then you can break some of these formal dressing rules and go into the domain, the world of semi-formal dressing. I've already covered this topic of formal versus semi-formal dressing on the channel. Go check out our office dressing video. And that now brings me to pants. Chinos would be allowed in a semi-formal company, in a slightly more casual company, but I'd still suggest that for a job interview, always wear formal pants. Formal office trousers or trousers that you wear with your suit just have a slight effect of making your overall outfit look formal. Make sure you look like a professional, make sure you look organized, make sure you look responsible, which also brings me to tip number two. We're talking about super quick male grooming. So rule number one when it comes to male grooming for job interviews is that you want to look fresh like this. Walk in with a smile, walk in with a clean face. Make sure you don't look like you've not slept for the entire night before the interview. But now coming to hair. A lot of people believe that using hair product makes you look slightly more professional. That is true to some extent, but I do believe that if you're interviewing for a slightly older company, you shouldn't use hair product. Hair product kind of gives out a very metrosexual vibe. It kind of gives out a vibe that you're more concerned about your looks than anything else. And a lot of older people, especially the people who are interviewing you for these companies, they're not looking for glamorous employees. They're looking for organized, responsible, mature employees. So this is one of those situations where I personally would suggest that you don't use any kind of hair wax or hair gel on your hair before the interview. Also keep in mind, speaking about haircuts, you're allowed to have slightly long hair. The only rule with haircuts is that this portion of your hair, which is called your side lock, it shouldn't be overgrown. It should kind of be flat, it should be slick, and it should be sticking to the side of your face. If it's overgrown, it just looks untidy, and that untidy look kind of gives out an unprofessional vibe. And speaking about untidy looks, very importantly, we've got to talk about beards. Yes, beards are in fashion, but I'd always suggest that if you're applying for a job and you're really serious about getting that job, always go clean shaven. Now look, our generation might find beards very trendy, very fashionable, but the older generation kind of associates beards with immaturity or irresponsibility. They think it gives you that gunda look. That's why, just to be safe, I'd always suggest that you go clean shaven for a job interview. And this is where I'd recommend the Gillette Mark III Turbo to all my little brothers. The Mark III Turbo uses a 3-blade razor technology, and the advantage of this technology is that in addition to giving you a good experience, it also gives you a very perfect clean shave. And in my opinion, this is the razor that I recommend to all of you because of these three features. Firstly, it's got 3 stronger than steel blades that last up to 60 days. You don't have to replace those blades too often. Secondly, the blades are mounted on springs that adjust according to the contours of your face. So you can shave those tricky regions easily, and you'll make sure that you're looking well groomed at all points. And thirdly, the steel handle on the razor is designed to give you the perfect grip while shaving, so your hand doesn't slip and you don't cut yourself. And also it looks very classy. That's the product that I recommend to every single younger bro. If you're stepping into a job interview, always go clean shaven, especially in India, especially in 2018. Next, we're talking about accessories. What's the perfect accessory for a job interview? The answer will always be a metallic watch. I don't even count formal watches like leather strap watches as a perfect option for job interviews because they're still slightly semi-formal. In a job interview, you always want to show that you're an organized, professional person. And the best way of saying that is through your accessories. always go for a very classic metallic watch which shows your seriousness. And also, the one thing you want to avoid is a lot of metal rings. I see a lot of bros wearing rings with these stones on top of them, you know, slightly colored stones. And the outcome of that is that it adds to your overall look. It takes away from the professionalism of your overall look. In a job interview, to some extent, you're trying to manipulate the interviewers. And take your big brother's advice, you want to give them the vibe that you're the most professional, most organized, no-nonsense guy. Okay, point number 4, we're talking about odors. Firstly, goes without saying, make sure you brush before your interview. If for some reason you're planning on not brushing before going for your interview. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about men's science. So, I always believe that you should smell great for an interview because you've got to remember that the way a human mind is built, people will notice how you smell more than they notice how you're dressed or how you look. Keeping that in mind, don't think that you can just put any deo or any perfume and go in for your job interview. Even with perfumes or deos, there's very serious, formal smelling deos and perfumes, and then there's very party style, fun smelling deos and perfumes. For a professional job interview like this, you want to smell professional, you want to smell formal. So what do you do in a situation like this? I do believe that you should always smell very manly for these job interviews. Choose a deo that has a very sharp smell, choose a perfume that has a very sharp formal smell. That's what you've got to go for. Always remember not to spray so much that the moment you walk into the job interview room, everybody knows that, okay, this guy's put a lot of perfume on. You should just put enough to kind of smell clean when you enter the room. You don't want to overpower them with all your scent. If you want to learn more about perfume science and how to figure out different kinds of smells for different kinds of occasions, I highly recommend you go and check out the video I made on my own perfume collection. It'll help you a lot in understanding how to kind of divide perfumes and how to select the perfect perfume for yourself. Okay, that covers the style and grooming aspect of a job interview, but now we're talking about the more important side of things. Keep in mind, I'll make a separate video on how to absolutely ace any job interview, but for now you've got to remember 3 simple rules. Firstly, technical fitness. For any job interview, people are usually going to ask you questions based on the industry that you're interviewing to become a part of. So if you're studying for an engineering job interview, make sure that you know every aspect of the kind of engineering required on that job. Also, educate yourself on what the company does and where your role is in that company, where you can fit into that company. You need to be fit enough to kind of give that job interview and ace the technical questions. If you happen to have a question in your interview which you can't answer, then just be honest. You don't have to answer 10 out of 10 questions. Even if you answer 6 out of 10 questions or 7 out of 10 questions, that's all right. But be technically fit enough to be able to be selected for that particular job. Which brings me to point number 2. Usually interviewers, when they're interviewing people for a particular job, they're not looking for your English or your language skills. They're looking for your clarity of thought. Don't be underconfident about your language. Don't worry about, oh, you know, I may not be able to say this sentence correctly. Worry about how clear your thoughts are. In today's day and age, there'll be a lot of interviewers who will be alright with you giving an interview in Hindi as well. So be comfortable, but be clear in your thought process. And third and final rule is also very important. Never be that person who stops midway through sentences. That shows a serious lack of confidence. Don't start saying a sentence and then midway through the sentence go, oh God, what am I saying? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Don't say things like that. If you started a sentence, complete it. That's what people want to see in your job interviews. That's what will get you the particular job. Always be confident in what you're saying. Be clear and complete your sentences. Walk in like a boss. Walk in like you have some value to add to their lives. Alright, and the final point in today's video is the correct body language, something that a lot of people ignore. You need to remember that if you conquer your own body and your own body language, that's more than half the game won, not just in job interviews, but in life. You can actually portray yourself as a very confident person, even if you're not really that confident, if you know how to manipulate your own body. 3 easy rules. Firstly, no close body language. No folding your arms, no fiddling with your fingers, no kind of sitting with your arms like this, no slouching. You've got to have open, strong body language. Secondly, when you walk into that room, bring positivity into that room. Have a smile on your face. You don't want to kind of laugh, you don't want to have a very wide smile, but you want to have a polite, friendly, fresh smile. So you just walk into the room with a smile, introduce yourself, shake the hand and say, hello sir, my name is Ranveer. Then, You wait for them to ask you to take a seat. If they don't ask you to take a seat and it gets slightly awkward, then just ask them, "Sir, may I sit? May I have a seat?" And then you sit, and that's when the job interview begins. So during the interview, I'd always suggest that your hands, use them to talk when you're explaining something like I do. Or if you're not someone who uses your hands a lot, then just place them on your lap comfortably. Just answer all the questions in an easy manner. Have a positive outlook throughout the interview. And remember one thing, that even if you don't end up acing that particular interview, it's all right. It's 2018, there's a lot of jobs out there. There's more opportunities in India than there have ever been. You don't need to worry about anything. Throughout any job interview and just generally in life, keep it positive, baby. Remember that. If you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe to Beer Biceps. Also, check out our new Hindi channel. I've linked it in the description box. Make sure you subscribe to that as well. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Did I already say that? Okay, I'm just gonna leave.